Hi, math students. This is Miss Fergus, and we are going to spend some time going through beginning of the course introductions of how to work in the course, what's expected for you, what resources will be the most helpful for you as you progress through the course. So I'm using an Algebra 2 course to illustrate the process, and the process is the same for all of the courses. So as you get into your math course, you are going to notice that everything is grayed out until you complete the item in front of it. So you've got some introductory activities to complete. Learn about your written student learning plan, which is a requirement for alternative learning programs in the state of Washington, which Internet Academy is one of. You will notice your syllabus. You studied your syllabus, and probably more important for helping you navigate and knowing whether or not you're on pace is going to be your LPC. LPC stands for Learning Plan Contract. So if you haven't yet, you want to write down for yourself to print out your learning plan contract for your math class. This tells you exactly what to do each week. So let's look at what is due for the first week of content, which is the week that starts September 11th if you started school with us at the beginning of the year. You will notice there are 3 Apex lessons to complete in week 2 of your math class. 3 assignments to complete. An assignment for each of these lessons. So let's go into Apex and we will find Apex Lesson 1.1 and look at the components of Apex lessons. So to get on to your Apex class, your Apex math book, it's in modules. And you're going to scroll down. Once you've completed all the prerequisites, you're going to notice right here, Apex Learning, click here to open your textbook. It will open up and you will find your math class. Once you're in Apex, click on your math class and up pops your math book. So this is your math book for this course. You will notice once you click into your math lessons that you only see on the left side here, you only see one thing at a time. And then once you complete that lesson, the next one will open up. So the only thing you're going to see is Unit 1 on the left-hand side, the name of it, and then you're going to see your first lesson, whatever it's called. In this course, 1.1 Algebraic Expressions. You will not see all of these other lessons. This is the teacher view. So our pacing for the example that we're following is to complete lesson 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3 this week. So I'm going to first go through 1.1, and we're not going to go through it all together, but I'm going to point out the very important pieces of your math textbook and your math lessons that all must be complete in order for you to successfully pass the quiz. It is not going to be possible for you to go through the math course without completing all the components of the lessons. It just won't work. So here are the 3 parts of each Apex lesson. There's a study, there's a checkup, and there's a quiz. So to complete lesson 1.1, you need to complete each of these items. Your study for each lesson is the lesson. It's where you actually learn the content. There's interactive activities, vocabulary, there's practice problems where you can check your answers. And you'll notice I've clicked on the study here. It's blue, that means it's selected. So down here I can see how many slides or how many pages are in my study. This particular study has 22 pages. So you're going to go through every single page before you move on to the checkup. Before you start your study, you're going to want to print out your study sheet. So study sheet is scaffolded notes for you. So that way you don't have to pick out what is important to take notes on. It's already been provided for you. So printing this out before you start your study and then completing it as you go not only helps you learn the material better, helps you realize what you might need more support on, but this is also helpful on your quiz. You get to use this on your quiz at the end of the lesson. So you're going to fill this out as you go. By the end of the lesson, this entire study will be completed. Now mine says show answers, but I don't believe the student view does yet. But there is a place for you in your study where you are going to check your answers for your study sheet before you move on to the checkup, because there's no point in you doing math problems unless you get feedback that you've done it correctly. So keep that in mind. That is a real important part of your math class this year. You do a practice problem, but then you check and make sure that you've done it correctly. Otherwise, there's no point in moving on. So you're going to print out your study sheet and you're going to fill it out as you progress through your slides. So you click on the arrows to move forward. Apex will read out loud to you if you'd like to have it read out loud. There you have some audio choices. Interact with every interactive piece within the slides. So for example here, we have these two expressions and the prompt is, what do these expressions have in common? What are their differences? And so you actually analyze and you complete the prompt. So what do those two expressions have in common? Well, I see some order of operations. Looks like we have addition and some multiplication, and we have some parentheses. So in common, they have order of operations, parentheses, addition, exponents. All right. What are some differences? Well, I see one has variables. The algebraic expression has variables. The mathematical expression does not. Mathematical expression has numbers only. All right, so there are some items they have in common and then differences. And then every time you complete, it gives you directions on how to interact. Verify your answer and make sure that you agree with everything the answer has provided. Both include numbers and neither has an equal sign or inequality sign. Oh, yes, you're right. Neither of these are not equations. There's no equal sign. But only the algebraic expression includes variables. Okay, I've got that one. All right, so I'm going to look at my study sheet and make sure there's nothing on here, vocabulary words that need to go on my study sheet. And then I'm going to move on to the next page. And I'm going to go through all 22 pages, all parts, before I check my answers on my study sheet. So your answers are the very end, page 22 of 22, study sheet check. So you're going to click right here and it's going to give you your answers. This is not cheating. This is using your resources. This is you being a learner and figuring out how to learn math. what is most helpful for you. So notice on this, not only does it give you the answer, but it gives the resource that, oh, page 2, I'm going to go back to page 2 because I didn't see that the first time I went through. And I want to make sure that I can lay my eyes on the answer to this. And so you go back and you make sure you're completely solid on all of that information. After you are done checking your answers on the study sheet, then you go into your checkup. These are practice problems, practicing what you just learned. The checkup is a worksheet. Also print this out. Notice already you're going to be printing out at least 2 items from every lesson. So you are going to want to keep a hard copy binder of your math lessons, all organized. Keep all of your Unit 1 items together in order, all of your Unit 2 items, and so on. This is going to help for your unit tests. You have all your notes already. It's going to help for your semester final. It's going to help for you identifying items that you're not quite sure on so that you can reach out to me to get additional help on a certain topic. After you are done completing your checkup, you're going to try and do it without checking your answers. But after you are done, then you click Show Answers and verify your work. Only after you have verified your answers to your study sheet and completed the study, only after you've completed the checkup and checked your answers, and reached out to me if you have questions on anything that you are not sure of yet, then you move on to your quiz. In order to be done with this lesson, you are going to pass the quiz at 70% or higher. You have 3 chances to pass the quiz at 70% or higher. So right down here, you press the arrow. And question 1 of 10. Notice you don't show your work for this quiz. However, you are going to want to write things down as you are working, because then if you need help from me, you're able to send me what you already have. So just because you're not submitting work in Apex does not mean you're not actually doing work. Then you will press submit when you're all done with your quiz, and it will give you your score. If your score is above 70%, the next lesson will automatically open up. So 1.2 in this case would open up after you score 70% or higher. If you do not score 70% or higher, you will get feedback as to what problems you missed. You need to review those problems. Go back through the lesson, find similar problems, see if you can figure out how to fix your own mistakes. If not, that's when you reach out to me and you get help before retaking the quiz again. So you have 3 chances to pass with a 70% or higher before you get locked out. So Apex will freeze up if you try a quiz 3 times and all of your scores are less than 70%. In that case, you need to email me, attach your completed study sheet, attach your completed checkup sheet, and send me an email asking specific questions about content. And then you and I will start a dialogue back and forth, and we'll get you set up to then retake that quiz and pass with 70% or higher. We might have a phone conversation. We might just complete it via email. It all depends on the situation. Chances are, though, you will not get to that point as long as you are going through all the parts to the lesson before you take your quiz. So this is Apex in a nutshell. So once you are done with your lesson in Apex, then you move on to the next lesson.